in the definition of luxury in 1961. We are in this beautiful Land Cruiser here, the Chrysler 300G. Steve, you've been driving here for a couple minutes now. Give me some impressions.
This is an impressive car in a lot of ways, a little bit unimpressive in some other ways. This is not only a luxury car, but this was the definition of a luxury performance car in 1961. Some people think these Chrysler letter cars that began in 1955 are the first muscle cars because they were a regular car with a big, powerful engine. This one, for example, has a 413 V8 with two 4-barrel carburetors, making somewhere around 375 horsepower and lots of torque, I might add. It's got a push-button automatic transmission, but I'll tell you what's unimpressive is it just wallows all over the road. What they've done is intentionally adjusted the steering box so it's a little bit loose to prevent wear on this old steering box. So when you want to turn right or left, you know, turn the steering wheel and wait a little while, and then it comes around, kind of like steering a big boat. But it's a lovely, lovely car. It's got swivel seats, it's got a padded dash, it's got an interesting instrument panel that's kind of a bubble, kind of a plastic bubble with all the gauges inside. And as I mentioned, push-button transmission Chrysler used for probably a half a dozen years or so. But it's really interesting to drive. It's very quiet for a car of its age, very stylish. This was one of Virgil Exner's designs. He was Chrysler's famous design director through the 1950s and most of the 1960s, penning some of the most beautiful, exorbitant, extravagant designs anywhere. Of course, high design was big in those days, so Virgil Exner was right in the hunt.
Ralph, the 1961 Chrysler 300 is an iconic vehicle. When you see vehicles like that in your daily job, what impact does that have on what you're doing every day?
Well, we go to the research center all the time. We have a center, we keep all of our historic vehicles, and I bring my designers there constantly. One, to remind us our past, respecting it. You know, we look at ourselves as shepherds of the brands. You know, we have to leave the brands better than we found them. And part of that process is respecting where you come from and learning that you have permission sometimes to make a vehicle that has an oversized grille. Why? We did it in the past. People get it. And it creates icons. I'm a big believer in icons. And if a car is beautiful, it'll always be beautiful. You know, and that's what I get out when I look at our history. I'm like, why, that car still makes me tear in my eye when I look at it. And you always think about, wow, what were the designers thinking when they did that? And I want our newer product to have that same lineage, and at the same time underscore the brand's value. So yes, I look at the past. We're not beholden to it. We try to always step forward, but at the same time respect our DNA and keep building our DNA strength.
So anyway, look around this interior a little bit. We have a big console down the drive shaft, goes all the way through to the back seat, making for two big bucket seats in the back as well. But the driving experience is pretty interesting with this odd steering. It's very, very assisted power steering, as are the brakes. So you have to drive this thing with a light touch, for sure.
Even the rear view mirror, Steve, is an interesting position, isn't it?
Yeah, it's setting right in the middle of the dash. Gives you a very nice view, and it really doesn't obstruct the front view at all. So that's really a nice position for it, rather than having it hanging from the ceiling. I think that's better than a modern car. But this outside mirror out on the fender, little tiny thing, you can't see much of anything in the oncoming lane with that one. All you can see is that stylish fender sticking in the back.
We can't really show it, but Steve, the other hallmark of this car, of course, are the swivel seats to get in the car. They swiveled out and back in, making ingress and egress very, very easy. In the back seat, we have actually Bice, who is working in development for the museum. Now, you're enjoying the back seat.
I am. It's very spacious. I feel like I am in the lap of luxury and being chauffeured to our destination in Salt Lake City. Thank you, Steve, for letting me be your VIP passenger.
Well,
My pleasure indeed.
We can't let Steve drive this by himself. He has to have a little oversight here.
That's right.
I mean, because Steve will drive it the way Steve likes to drive. But actually, Steve is a pretty good driver.
I don't think I'd want to drive this one very fast because of that loose steering. That would be quite a challenge.